All right, you're listening to HawkeTalk. I'm here today with Noah Kagan. How you doing?
It sounded like a radio. HawkeTalk 94.5.
Exactly.
I'm doing. Today is a more low key day. Today's
Yeah,
Thursday.
yeah. No, I actually woke up this morning and thought it was Friday, and not that I like live for the weekends, but this weekend I'm excited for, and I was like, God damn it, it's not. So,
What's coming up this weekend that you're excited about?
going out on a boat on Saturday, and then coming out to Austin. So it's a
Dude,
good
going on a
good
boat.
time.
There's like I don't. Me and my friends were on a boat a few weeks ago, and we're like, I think it's against the law to be unhappy on a boat. Like,
Yeah,
it's
no,
literally it's impossible.
yeah, it's impossible. It is. It's just such a great thing. Actually, a friend of mine out there invited me to go out wake surfing on next Saturday, which I'm 100%. I've never done it. I'm 100% in on. So that should be fun. But yeah, to kick it off, let's just take this back. So, I assume you were born, you came out of the womb, and you're like, that's it. I'm just gonna, get into the web business, and you started building websites and selling stuff online like as an infant, right? That's how it all. And then you're just there. You were a billionaire from the start.
That's what they do at the Jewish synagogue.
Yeah.
This is like, if you're not Jewish, you don't know about this. But when
Yeah.
out of the womb, you're born onto.
So this was you just brought up a great topic. So I had a Serbian roommate in college that when he first met me, he's like I hear that when every Jew is born, they get $1 from every other Jew in the world, and so you're all born millionaires because there's whatever.
Are you serious?
Yeah, swear to God, and he's still a close friend. But he said this to me, and I'm like, here's the issue, and this is what separates Jews from a lot of other people. My thought isn't, oh, I get whatever $18 million when I'm born. It's for the rest of my life, I'm paying $1 to every Jew that's born. I'd lose money because there's going to be more and more, hopefully. Like, that's a terrible deal. That's yeah, exactly. So
there's actually a famous Japanese book. It's like How to Get Rich Like a Jew.
Yeah.
By a guy named Ken Honda. And I tried to find it. I couldn't find it, but this is years ago.
I gotta find that. No, in China too, they actually bring in like Jewish coaches to teach about money management. Like, it's a thing. It's a stereotype that I don't mind. Just gonna say it. But yeah, so
from the about pages for like Tapalti.com and this company called Lucia.com.
Yeah.
And there's these like very Israeli names like Shior Cohen, Baruch Hen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, this company's going to do really well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to call them for sales.
Yeah. No, and we're a big customer of Tabalti. Actually, they're good. But yeah, so going back to it, where are you from? Where were you born?
I'm from Cupertino, California.
Okay.
I grew up about 2 miles outside of Apple HQ.
Nice. Were your parents involved in the tech scene?
Not really. My stepfather was. My biological dad sold copiers.
Well,
we actually have a Slack channel.
Who was it that started there? Was it Bill Gates that did copiers, or was it someone did copiers that before they got into there? Someone was at Xerox. It's Steve Jobs. It wasn't Steve Jobs.
Well, Steve Jobs did the whole mouse thing, right? The whole mouse and the GUI thing came from Xerox PARC.
Maybe that's what it was.
He worked at Atari.
Yeah,
I got to meet Steve in the Bay. Anyway, so my biological dad sold copiers and faxes, which at appsumo.com, we have an old people Slack channel where we talk about shit like that.
That's awesome.
My stepfather did like more semiconductor engineering, and then my mom's a nurse.
So, but
you kind of like around it, man. Like that was
that still touches it. That's still Silicon Valley in the very core sense of Silicon Valley.
Well, it's interesting. We're recruiting at AppSumo for different roles, and I looked up a few of the different friends and just people I knew from college, and specifically like high school. A lot of the guys I grew up with, and all of them are just like tech executives.
Yeah.
Like, I'm at Uber, I'm at Square, I'm at Facebook. And I think it's interesting. I got lucky, frankly, that was just like the quality of the people that I was, in the area that I grew up in.
Yeah. And so but your parents weren't entrepreneurs, right? They were working for the bigger companies.
My mom was not. My dad was. He came from Israel, didn't speak English. And then he had his first job. I think he sold carpets at Sears.
Nice.
Israeli, like, hello, you want carpets for you? And then he ended up starting his own business.
So the semiconductor stuff was his?
No. So the stepfather was the semiconductor.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
My biological dad, he kind of just did door-to-door sales of copiers and fax machines, and ended up creating a pretty sizable company doing that.
Oh, that's amazing. Got it. And so from a young age, were you enamored with the entrepreneurial side? Like, I know a lot of people, like, you start selling stuff at 4 years old and are always doing that. Like, did you build off of that? Or did you, like, where were you as a kid? Where were your interests lying?
Money.
It was. Okay.
I loved money.
Yep.
And only until like, I'm almost 40 now. And I think everyone, has a really fascinating relationship with money. Everyone has this really unique story that they've told themselves. And sometimes the story evolves, and I think mine's evolving, but mine, especially when I was young, it was like, get that money, do it. From an early age, I was selling things.
I was say, like, what age did it start?
I
Do you
think
remember like your
elementary
first?
school was like
Yeah.
the first thing I saw. We went to Costco and I was like, hold on, the pencils, I could take pencils and candy from Costco, or I guess it was called Price Club at the time, and
Yeah.
then sell it in elementary school at kindergarten. And that was like the first kind of like selling thing. What was yours?
I actually, when I was 6, I decided my parents didn't need a bunch of their stuff anymore when they weren't home. And I lived in a small town, and I literally grabbed a trash bag, filled it up with like golf balls and all sorts. I'm like, my parents don't need this stuff. Like, just grab their stuff, grabbed a friend, and we went door to door selling my parents' stuff out of a trash bag.
What do you think it is about? I mean, obviously, if your parents are entrepreneurs, I know my dad inspired me. He inspired me not to do physical labor. Not that I don't like working out and things like that, but I saw how heavy these copiers were and like how much effort it was. I was like, I like the whole freedom and controlling of your life, but I knew that wasn't, I wanted to do the tech part, like the internet digital part.
Yeah. And I think it for me, I've talked about it. I think it comes a little bit from taking it for granted. If your dad or parent or someone around you is an entrepreneur and you go, oh, that's an option, it's an option. I think that most people, like by nature, most people don't grow up with that. They don't have, well, there's less entrepreneurs than employees. And so by nature, if you grow up around your parents or employees and they went to school, got good grades, got a good job, et cetera, that becomes a path that you think is laid out for you. And it takes a lot to break that. Whereas vice versa, if your parents are entrepreneurs, I don't say that every entrepreneur breeds entrepreneurs, but at least creates that option that the kids always know that that's something you can do. And I know this because my brother has an entrepreneurial side, but and started some stuff, but also worked for other people. My sister went to work for Wells Fargo and then worked for my dad's business actually. And so you can go that path or not, but at least it opens that path, I think, is one way of getting into it.
I don't know, man. Like we're recording a YouTube video for my YouTube channel today where I'm going to go to rich people's houses and ask them how they got rich.
Nice. It's like that guy with the car thing I've seen.
Yeah. Daniel Mack.
Yeah.
He does it with the cars.
Yeah.
And I think when I was in high school and junior high, and when I got to college, I was like, I know I want to run my own business. I know I want to get rich, but how do people do it?
Yeah.
Right. It just feels like it was so distant. And like I grew up, middle class, and I was like, is there like some secret world that they all get into or some level? I really thought this is just level that I just wasn't getting permission to. And I didn't know. I think the disconnect I felt was like, what's the path? What's the actual? And I think what's amazing nowadays is that everything is so cheap and so free and so accessible to create your own businesses.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's still hard to know that there's a path to it.
No, and I think that's interesting too, is like if you're not fully exposed in like an open way to wealth, it is a lot harder. And I think that's what you see with the opportunity gap kind of stuff. Like, if you grow up, like aside from middle class, if you grow up in poverty, like you don't even know if it's ever an option to get out of that, even though you hear anecdotes. So no, that's interesting. And so taking it from selling pencils in school, what was the next venture that you got into? Like, what was the next hustle?
I did a lot of like, I think I was just always working blue collar jobs. So like I worked at the candy stand at the baseball field. I was an umpire. I worked at Office Max.
Nice.
I think the first tech stuff, which is where to me, I think is more relevant for the audience potentially, is when I was 16, I worked at a thing called TransTech, and I saw a flyer at a community college, De Anza, and it was to build computers and run Ethernet cables for companies. So it was this Jewish guy, Elon, who was from Mexico. And so he was interesting. He serviced specifically like Mexican businesses, Hispanic businesses, and body shops in the Bay Area. So it was interesting to have that niche. And it was good work. It was like you built computers, you broke computers, and then you ran cables and ceilings. I think that's where I started just driving more and like, all right, there's something here with this web stuff.
Yeah.
And as the .com shit was happening, it's like everyone's getting rich doing anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I was like 16, 17 at the time. I was like, man, I want to get into that. So I wrote my first business plan.
And what was that?
It's actually, this is what I hate when people do, just to be clear. I hate when people are like, I had the idea for that company. I'm like, oh, what'd you do about it? Nothing. Shut the fuck up. So the plan was specific. I think what I encourage people to think about in business personally is like, what's problems you have? What are the problems? Customer first is what I call it. But like, what are the problems that you have for yourself? And I noticed I had a lot of free time, and I was in high school and all my other friends had free time. And I was like, oh, what if we could actually go drive things around and deliver things for people that have money in Silicon Valley?
Yeah.
right? So kind of like what Uber is, or
Yeah.
DoorDash or Grubhub, what all these services are. So it's like, oh, we could just do deliveries. And then it's funny, I still have the business plan. And it was like people would pay us with checks. Like, like that's at the
Yeah.
time, that was
Yeah.
1996, 97.
Yeah. No, credit cards had not proliferated. I mean, they had them, but it wasn't anywhere close. My dad, up until 5 years ago, I think, was still resistant to credit cards. So I showed him the amount of points I'd earned on mine. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's interesting when you get it to a different level of wealth. Like now I'm guessing in our society wealthy.
Yeah.
And you interact with your parents who have their own money story from
Yeah.
their parents in the Depression.
Yeah.
And then just how these like worlds collide. Like we go out and my mom is hesitant to like pay. Oh, watermelon. She's like, it's so expensive, Noah. We can't get the watermelon. I was like, Mom, I don't need an inheritance. Just buy the watermelon.
Exactly.
I think that the first ventures, though, just business wise, was in college. That's where I think I started doing. I think the best time is like, how do you do business where there's not a lot of risk and you don't have to put a lot of money into it?
Yep.
Find out if there's something that people want. And college was where that started really happening for me.
And where'd you go?
Berkeley.
Oh, you did go to Berkeley, so you stuck in the Bay. Nice.
I love the Bay.
Yeah. But you're in Austin now.
I am in Austin. I was in the Bay till 30, and then that was about 10 years ago. I was tired. It's funny. It's just now people are still. It's the same thing. I was tired of the dirt.
Yeah.
I was tired of the price.
Yeah.
I was tired of like the homeless and all that. I also was tired. I miss the smartness, but the density of intelligence has definitely been coming to Austin. But at the time, I was tired of like talking about your startup and talking about your funding and talking about, hey, what's your stack? I was like, I don't care. Like I care about it. I love it. I love tech.
Yeah.
I think that's how people can find out what they love, is just like, look at what you read. And I always, in newspapers, I always read tech.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want that to be everything. And so Austin was just awesome.
Yeah.
And I came here.
And it's a great city.
It's great. And you also, nowadays with Airbnb and this thing called airplanes, you can like your lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Jump around.
And, I'm going to LA in next 2 weeks.
Nice. Yeah. It's so easy. COVID put a damper on it, but I think we're getting out of that now. So go to college at Berkeley, and you didn't end up doing the delivery business. You read the business plan, but didn't go for it.
I think that's what a lot of, I have the YouTube channel and AppSumo.com. A lot of our customers want to start or grow online businesses. That's what we promote software tools. And it's interesting to see how many people have the idea, or how many people have a day job that they hate. And that's what I want people to get away from, is jobs that suck.
Yep.
And, like, how do you find jobs you really enjoy?
Yep.
Like, how do you create work you enjoy? So but a lot of people do it. I have a plan, or I should do this idea. And what'd you do about it? Nothing. So honestly, one of the thing that you said is, I think everyone should just go do. If you want to start a business today, go on Facebook Marketplace and sell one thing that you have.
Yep. Just execute.
Business is just start. Just get something going. You're like, oh, I just sold something. All right, what else can I do? And then you just kind of get that. You're like, maybe I can sell my cookies. Maybe I can make a platform. Maybe I can actually create marketing.
It's getting over that hump, making a little money, making a little more. It's incremental growth. It's not. Yeah, I see too many people. Like, even once they a lot of people will build. I'm sure you see this all the time. They'll build products, and they'll actually get it all going, but then they don't ever like go get some customers. Like, they just spend years building a product, and they don't sell it. Getting over that hump is it's scary for some people, I think, subconsciously. But once you do it, it's just freeing. It's like, oh, people actually want to pay me for my shit. Great.
This is going to sound strange. I do think there's something in the Jewish culture about not being as afraid of asking, because part of our culture, like when you have, dinners, I'm not very religious.
Same.
But it's like, in Judaism, it's like, why do they do this? I don't understand, Herschel. Why are they doing that? And, it really is asking.
Yeah.
And in business, at the end of the day, all you're doing is asking. It's like, as you have all these clients for Hawke Media, you're like, hey, we think we can really help you with this, and here's the amount we're asking for, and do you want to do the service? And that's business.
Yep. And honestly, not pushing it, just asking for the sale it's that easy. Like, we've never been pushy about things, because frankly, pushing someone into working with us is a nightmare, because then every day after that, we have to reinforce that versus like them actually wanting it themselves. And, but you have to ask. A lot of times it is that simple.
It sounds simple, man, but we've had a course. I won't even mention it. And I have my YouTube channel, Noah Kagan, on YouTube, and we have App Sumo.
Yep.
It's unbelievable how like scary and fearful it is for so many people. So that's, I tell people to do the coffee challenge. That's something that
What's a coffee challenge?
Coffee challenge is you go next time you buy coffee. I would encourage you to try it.
Yeah, Let's do
So
it.
what you do is next time you buy coffee or tea, or anytime you buy anything next in person, you just ask for 10% off. And
I
the thing
love
about it is
that.
it's free, it's universal. And the point is not to get the discount, but the point is to practice the muscle of asking for things and asking for something. The
Yeah.
idea is that hopefully you get rejected.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah. We survived. Exactly.
So like,
I'm
yeah,
going to make a note of that. I'm going to make my whole team do that. I think it's a
dude,
great
I
lesson.
love it. I encourage you to do it first to see what you know, learn about yourself. Because a lot of people are like, well, I've done sales for 50 years. I'm like, well, then it'll be easy for you.
Yeah. Just ask. Again, the goal is just to ask. I like that a lot.
Well, like on Monday, I flew in from Arkansas. I was with my parents. And one of my new I do challenges here and there, but I do the ones when I want to start negotiating. So one of my new ones is like push-ups in public. So every day I do 205 push-ups.
Nice.
I do 75,000 a year is my goal.
I was
And
going to
so
say,
now,
is that the significance is because that adds up to 75,000 a year.
yeah. And
Got it.
so now when I'm into a public place that I don't want to do push-ups, I'm like, okay, this is where you're gonna do some push-ups. And so lately it's in airports. So I'm in Arkansas in the middle of the airport. It's super crowded. And I was like, don't want to do it here. It's like, all right, cool. No, you don't have to do it here.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, you're going to do it here. And
Yeah,
then I did
exactly.
it. You know what? None of these people fucking care about me. They're
No.
like, that guy's, who fucking cares about that guy? They care about their own lives. And
Yeah.
I think the more people can get into that, the more they can get what they actually want.
Yep. That is great advice. All right. So you get into college. What's the business?
I did a lot of different, some are traditional, some are not traditional. We did a thing called comegetused.com. So it was a Berkeley book exchange that we launched across a bunch of campuses.
Uh-huh.
I read a book called $1 Million Consulting by Alan Weiss, which I think is one of the best books if you want to start a consulting business. And kind of similar to that business plan I was mentioning, I always look to just try to solve my own problems. And what do I notice that I have an understanding of that others may not? And so I noticed that there was I was a RA in the dorms.
Uh-huh.
And I noticed that there's a lot of these really smart freshmen that wanted to get something on the resume. And I was like, well, why don't you come do consulting with me? I'll go sell projects, and then you guys do all the work. And we'll go find companies that want to do marketing to college students. Because guess what? That's what we are. We understand it.
Yep.
So that's what I did. I went and sold to like Dell. I used the Berkeley alumni network, and I just messaged people from companies. And I was like, hey, we're in college. Like, do you guys want to do any marketing to college kids? And we'll sell you some projects. And so there was like a $5,000 thing to Dell, some local restaurants we did marketing for. There's basically like, we're college students. We can understand and figure out.
Yeah.
That actually led to Ninja Card. So we did that. One of the guys came up with an idea. We should do a discount card. So we built a card. We sold it. Ended up doing like $50,000. It was on like 5 of the UC campuses. Yeah, I mean, honestly, just a lot of the things were.
And were you putting money away during this time, or did you just kind of spend it on the next thing? Yeah. So you were saving.
I just kind of saved it. A lot of the businesses, the thing I guess I'm known for and what I've always encouraged is like, I think almost any business can start really cheap and really fast.
Yeah.
The idea is not about being cheap and not about just moving fast. It's about understanding, can you get to find something people really want?
Right.
I've also done, we can talk about businesses I've done that no one wanted, and I spent a lot of money and time doing it. Mm-hmm. There's just so many stuff. Like the other college business I did was I bought and sold laptops. I just like went on Craigslist, found broken laptops, drove up, pick them up, fixed them up, because I did it when I was in high school, and then I sold them on eBay.
Got it.
And it was, 500 to 1,000. I was just hungry for the fucking money, dude. I wanted that money so badly.
Did you have any like goal with the money, or was it literally just the money? Like, is the intrinsic value?
That's something I've struggled with for a long time. And it's not a boohoo, like rich fucking person problem. But, I think there's people who spend money that don't have any.
Right.
And there's people like me who I've made a decent amount of money in my, I'm almost 40. I've made a decent amount of money, but I've really not enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Until the past, I would say this year is
not enjoyed the money. You've enjoyed the process, right?
I've enjoyed making it, but I never enjoyed spending it. Like I had, a 2004 Miata outside.
Yeah.
And, I have a 2017 scooter.
There you go.
And only like in the last year or so, and I had a house that's like 800 square feet that's falling down. Like it's literally like got cracks across. And my friend yesterday when he came over was like, I didn't understand what was wrong with you. And I think that's a whole external, internal, like what do you really want versus what do people think you should want? That's a whole separate discussion. But I think the question is, just like, I guess, I don't know where it came from, but I had a narrative that materialism and spending money won't bring you actual happiness. I think that was a story I was telling myself.
Okay.
You seem like you spent a lot of money. I'm like, dude, I gotta fucking live
like it's funny. I'm actually compared cheap, not to you, but in terms of what probably I could be doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, exactly. And by the way, it's funny. My dad actually said that to me like a year ago. He's like, fuck, you're cheaper than I am. And felt like the biggest compliment I've ever been paid. Um, but I find ways to work with things. Like again, I travel a lot because we have an obscene amount of credit card points. Like we do things that normally, if you just went straight at them, would cost a lot of money. But I find ways to do it cost effectively. But yes, I like to have a lot of fun too.
Well, the two things I think about that, and I think about this extensively, and I put it out on my YouTube channel, is that we need a lot less money than we think to get the things we want.
Right.
Like actually living, like I have a Tesla now and I have like a multi-million-dollar house, and I'll just be straight. Yeah. Like it's, I don't know, how much is that a month? It's probably about like 10,000 a month living expense. Not that much. Like post-tax, like that's $250,000 a year you need to make.
Yep.
That's a lot of money. I get it, but like it's
Yeah.
not unachievable for most. And
No, it's not billions. We're not talking about
Yeah.
crazy success. We're talking about success, but not. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's achievable, but I think the point I try to encourage a lot of people is like that doesn't mean that people have to admire or aim for my life. It's like, what do you actually want? How much do you actually need for that?
Yep.
Is I definitely think a big disconnect.
And so, are you still driven? Like knowing that, what drives you to make more and more money? What do you think? Where do you think that comes from?
I wonder about that a lot. I have different coaches. Like I have a CEO coach and executive coach and advisors, and one of them was like, I don't get what motivates you, and I don't have a great answer.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That's why same
Yeah.
exact thing.
I was talking with this guy Sahil from Gumroad.
Mhm.
I think most people know Gumroad. And he's just like, he spends his days finger drawing, like he draws. And he doesn't do any meetings and all this stuff. And I was talking to my friend Neville last night about it, and I was like, yeah, man, I should just spend my day like drawing. And like, he's like, dude, you would be so fucking bored.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see you doing that and I came back to be CEO of App Sumo and help run the business. And honestly, I fucking love it.
Yep.
And I do think though, money though gives you a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's just things with the money that you start spending it a little bit. And I think one way that we talk about it in App Sumo is test and invest. And so it's like, try spending some money and seeing what it does for you. And I will say, man, like I hired a house manager.
Oh, that's
3
nice.
days a week.
Yeah.
Dude, I love her. Like I text her almost every day. I'm like, I love you. Like you're the best. And it's just like, man, money for that shit is just like wild.
No, it creates a lot of freedom. It really does. But the thing that I always look at, because I have a similar drive where my making more money isn't about my own personal lifestyle. I've got the house, kind of like you got the house, car, like I'm good with, like I get to go where I want to go, but I'm still going. I could sell the company and retire, but I don't want to. And it's, I think that there's also a rewarding value of building something and growing something and continuing to be challenged. Yeah, it really is.
Two high level things that I've noticed. One, there's a phenomenal book called Die with Zero. If you've not read this book by Bill,
I already like the subject or the title.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed it, but it's a really interesting book, really good material around just like, how are you spending your time?
Yep.
And my parents are like, oh, do you want the inheritance? I'm like, no, y'all should spend all of it. Like go first class. My mom, I took them, they went to a lounge because I bought a lounge pass. They went to the lounge for the first time. We like put bags of the snacks. They're like stealing from there. I'm like, that's right.
Do it.
My family.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's not even that expensive. So that one, Die with Zero, highly recommend. The second thing is like, I bought condos in Austin that we were using as our offices. And I make about $1,000 a month from each one, which is cool. It's great. I don't ever use it. And that money doesn't do shit for me. And it's whatever. It just doesn't do shit for me. And one day I was like, why don't I just buy a place in Colorado or Utah or Montana or something that like I can use or my friends can use or we can actually get enjoyment. So I think mentally I'm trying to think more about, it's not just about the money, but just more about what gives me satisfaction.
Yeah.
How do I use the money more effectively? Because like making 1,000 is cool, but having a place that I can share and go with friends. Sounds like a lot better use of, I guess, mind share.
Yeah, no. And I think when you're building a business and you're in that growth mode, you end up in this mentality of like preserve to reinvest, to build. And it's a weird step when you go, can I spend some of this? Just like, there's no return. There's no justification. Having a vacation house, there's no way to justify it, but it just sounds like something I want to do. And it's hard when you've done such a good job with your business of like investing to build.
It's a really hard shift, man. Like this is going to sound strange to people who are poor, or maybe people rich won't get it either. But like I went to therapy a lot to try to buy a house.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. I don't, I didn't ever earn the money.
Well, no, I'll
And
say it to anyone listening that's judging, like, fuck them. Like, at the end of the day, like, you can't judge unless you've been in the same situation. And people, it's people think that like money solves all this stuff when money is the stress driver. But again, what do they say? It's like 70 grand a year is the average in the nation, that like that stress goes away. And let's say it's even 250, but at some point that stress is off the table and you still are all dealing with the same human problems. And you're still dealing with challenges. And, yeah, it's a whole nother tangent we could go on, but
it's an amazing thing. Well, I think the question is like, we're on a planet in space floating around. And I think what we're asking ourselves is like, how do we occupy this time?
Yep.
And us humans have said, hey, there's this digital currency, physical a little bit, mostly digital, that we have decided is important. And people are spending their whole lives killing people, even going to jail over this fucking thing. And I just think we should be more mindful of how we prioritize our time around that stuff.
No, I agree. And so getting back into it, you get out of college. Did you know what you wanted to do with the rest of your life?
No, dude, I was like so jealous. Like I was obviously jealous when I met people in college. I'm like, what do you want to do? They're like, I want to be a hand surgeon. I was like, who did you talk to God? Did he text you again? Or friends would be like, yeah, I really want to do actuarial science or some fucking weird ass shit. And then, I knew I was going to do business. My dad was an entrepreneur. I knew I was going to be in tech. I grew up around that stuff, but I just didn't know how. And I wanted to be rich, but I didn't know how. And I just kind of like scrounged and like applied for random ass jobs in that area. So I did get final round at Google pre-IPO.
Oh,
I
wow.
got an offer from them, which is wild.
Yeah.
And then they took it back at the last minute. So that
really
was super difficult.
Well, yeah. So was that the .com bust? Is that when that was?
No, it's 2003.
Oh, okay.
2004. I got the offer and then they rescinded it. So basically I applied for just any fucking job I could get because I knew other people that were around me were doing accounting, auditing, consulting, or banking. And I was like, all those sound horrible.
Yeah.
They all sound so basically my options, the job offers I had was I got rejected by Philip Morris. I was going to either work at Wells Fargo in their mid-management web area, or the third option was Intel in their supply chain. My degree was in business and economics. I did a double major and I just knew tech. And I was like, Intel is at least in tech and I could live with my mom. And it would give me time to work on my things at the side. So if you have a day job you hate, that's like a blessing. Because that's motivation, but then you have a bunch of time and money to start all these things. So it gave me a lot of time because I didn't do shit there.
I think people miss that too. Like there's always this note of like, you got to quit everything to pursue your dream. It's like, actually you don't. You can straddle the shit out of stuff until it starts working. Like I never got that. Like quit your day job and go do this same, it's like, why? Like work your day job, because if you can't work a day job and then go home and work another 6-8 hours and work weekends to build your startup, you're not going to be a business owner. Like there's going to be, you have to get used to that kind of demand anyways.
I think I knew my dream. I think one thing that was important for me, Eric, is that I always knew my dream was to be the boss. I don't want to be anyone's boss, by the way. I don't want to boss any motherfucking person around. I just knew I wanted my own fucking thing. Like when I worked at Facebook early on, I worked at Mint early on, I worked at all these like popular companies. Even there, I was dissatisfied because I was like,
and what were you doing at those companies? What was your focus?
Well, so how I got there is also an important part, I think, for other people in these journeys. I was at Intel, and basically while at Intel, I just kept building more companies. Most of them didn't work. So I put on the discount card. I kept running it.
Yeah.
I started conferences. So I did this thing called Entrepreneur 27 and Community Next, where it was just, I was interested in social networking and really early, it's 2006, 2005. And so I put on events. I never did it before. And I ended up making like $50,000 an event. So that was, I just made the event I wanted to go to. And I kept building more stuff for college students, like collegeup.org, which is like Craigslist for college kids. And just other projects. So when I just applied cold for Facebook because I was about to quit Intel, and I was like, oh, well, they're hiring. Maybe at least let me hit them up. And I just totally randomly got the job. But I got the job not because of connections, but because I've been putting in the work, building products and then when I went there, I showed them a lot of mock-ups of products that I would build at Facebook. So it was almost like a no-brainer they're going to hire me.
Yep. Awesome.
I've like put that story out there online. I'm tired of kind of talking about basically I got fired after 9 months. Didn't get any options and stock. And so I'm rich, but I'm not as rich as I could be. But life still turned out pretty well.
Yeah.
But it was a fucking wild time. It was, I think one of the takeaways for me in that experience was just like, it was a blessing to be around so much talent.
Yeah.
It was fucking inspiring to be around literally like the best of the best in the world.
Yep. Yep.
Imagine the smartest people on the planet working with you. I'm like, that's what I got to be around.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. And so if you don't mind me asking, what happened after 9 months? Why'd you get fired?
Yeah, it's funny because I have a company now, and so I see.
Yeah.
I 3 months ago I wrote down a note. I was like, if 24-year-old Noah was working at appsumo.com, I'd fire his ass.
Yeah.
Ah.
You got to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think the 39-year-old Noah is much more different. At 24, I wanted my own show. I kept putting on my own side hustles. I thought Facebook was moving too slow, which is funny.
Yeah.
But we didn't do any press. We didn't do any marketing. So I think, fundamentally, I think there was one. I left Intel because I didn't want to be in meetings and structure. I wanted fast startup movement. And when it was 30 people, it was excellent. At 150 people, it was like, hey, let's have a meeting with 30 people to talk about a font.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't give a fuck about fonts. I still don't.
Yeah.
And so that was one. Two, I was doing all my side hustles, and Mark sat me down and he was like, yo, dude, side hustle or at Facebook, pick one. And I was like, I kind of didn't have Facebook, but I'm doing my side hustle. And third, there was just some stuff where I don't think I was mature enough to really scale with the company. And I'm noticing that with App Sumo. We had people that were excellent when we just had 4 people, and now at 130 people, there's knowledge gaps.
Yep.
And so I made some, I think, poor choices about like my skills and execution. And also some ways, like I told TechCrunch about some things we were working on, and I was like, yo, we need to do some press. And there's process and stuff that I wasn't maturing with.
Got it.
So yeah, it was devastating, and I didn't get rich, and I got fired, and it fucking sucked.
Yeah. Sounds like you did all right though.
I did. I think one thing I don't understand about the story, and we always create the stories backwards, not forwards. I don't understand how I kept going. Like
but you kept going.
I don't know. I'm kind of.
Is that what you said? How you kept going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how we keep going on these things, and it's like almost getting that fired. Really, it did motivate me though, in a lot of hate and a lot of negativity towards them. But I can't believe I just kept going. But I think one of the silver linings there was that I was always blogging.
Got it.
I was always blogging on okdork.com, which I still do. And it was just something like YouTube and podcasts, which I still do. I just always enjoyed it. And that provided me connections and network and relationships and freelance gigs. So I think, people building your brand, whether you're a developer, an engineer, marketer, sales is one, it's fun, but two, it definitely provided a silver lining after that experience.
And so where'd you go after Facebook? What ended up happening next?
Well, I was fucking angry, man. And I was like, yo, I'm going to prove these guys wrong, these Stanford dicks. And I recognized I wanted to find something that I could, also build my self-confidence up.
Mm-hmm.
And like at Facebook, I did a lot of really interesting stuff, like Facebook ads. A lot of that was me. Facebook status, which is also what Twitter became afterwards, was me. So there's definitely some stuff I did pretty okay at.
Yep.
And so I saw Mint. I saw an early prototype, and I was like, all right, this is the future.
Yeah.
And so I convinced them. They didn't want to hire me. I convinced them to hire me to do marketing, which I never did before. And then I ran all of Mint's marketing. And
nice.
The founder, I got to give Aaron a lot of credit. He had the idea, he did the execution, and then I had the easy job of just, making sure the world knew about it.
Yep.
But I just felt like I thought it was just the category was so fucking huge. It's like, who wants more money? Everyone.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's what a lot of people miss out when they're doing businesses. They're like, hey, I'm working on this business. Like, how big is that market?
Yeah.
How excited are the people to have that solution? And it was one of these like no brainers.
Yeah. Total addressable market. Important factor in starting a business.
It is like, and well, also is it, what's the growth rate of the market?
Right.
Like if you were I've either chased really quickly or called things really early, but like I've picked, it's not that I think I'm above average smart. I don't think I'm top. I'm like a A- kind of guy, B+.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just picked great markets.
Yeah.
I've picked really, and like, even if I did shitty, like we can go through them, but like the markets just did well. So I did okay.
Yeah. Which happens. For a lot of people, it's happened with crypto and NFTs now. Like the market's gone nuts,
dude.
Yeah. Not one of them.
Crypto?
A little bit, not much.
Okay. I'm a crypto millionaire. I'll just tell you out there.
That's good. And I'm
no, but it's by luck. It's totally by luck.
Right.
Like all these people
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. That came across kind of weird. Sorry.
No, I get it. You got like, listen, unless you're in for 10 million and you're a crypto millionaire, then it's not so good. That's how you got in.
You're a business owner. Because a lot of people are like, how much revenue you make? I'm like, ask how much profit we keep.
So great. I love you just said that, because the first year in Hawke, we hit just over $1 million, which was the goal.
Nice.
I called in revenue, to be clear. I called my dad, and he was one of the only people at the time I felt comfortable gloating to, bragging to, like celebrating with. I called him and I was like, we just did $1 million in our first year. And my dad goes, $1 million what? I'm like, million revenue. He goes, revenue? How much fucking money did you make? So
yeah, I'm curious. Sounds like a whole nother episode about how your dad has influenced you positively and negatively.
But yeah, probably both. I think the chip on the shoulder, and good and bad, comes from him. So
yeah, Mint.
Mint, yeah. How long were you there?
Mint. I was there 9 months again.
Okay.
And again, at Facebook and at Mint, my dream was always to have my own thing. It wasn't to be a boss. I don't like the word boss in general.
Yeah.
But I just wanted my own.
You wanted the freedom.
Experience. And so I saw the Facebook platform open up where you could start building on Facebook, and I was like, oh, that's going to be big.
Yeah.
Because I already knew how Facebook was going to grow, and I knew that if I could access profiles and people's information, I could create something to make money. So I looked for the most popular category that had the least competition. So there was like a sports app for hockey, soccer. So you could put your soccer team logo on your profile.
Okay.
And I was like, is there anything else for the other sports? And there wasn't. And I was like, oh, you can do a lot of affiliate to Amazon for the sports team. So if I if I copied the soccer one to hockey, you can put like your Rangers. I don't follow hockey. Yeah. But like you can put whatever team on your Facebook profile, which I knew got a lot of views.
Yep.
And so I worked with a guy in the Philippines. We copied the app, the soccer one, made the hockey one, launched it, I don't know, about a week later. And then it was one of the top 10 apps.
Wow.
So,
and for hockey, which I love hockey, but it's not the most popular sport in the country.
But then I launched all the, like pretty much right after that, then I launched all the sports.
Got it.
So I launched like hockey, baseball, basketball, football. I didn't launch soccer for 6 months out of respect. I was like, I came up with the idea.
That's nice.
Yeah. And I became like the #1 Facebook app developer, I don't know, for a few months.
Did that piss off Mark? Did you know?
Well, Mark ended up banning the company.
So he did. So it did piss him off.
I don't know if it pissed him off, but it definitely, I was like, God damn this guy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy he's getting fucked over in the news. And plus Facebook sucks these days. Like no one uses it anymore.
Yep.
I'm like, except like, I don't know. Like, anyways, I'm really happy about all the shit they get. Because I think he actually has mostly good intentions. Yeah. I'm glad that everyone's ranging on him. Also, they're not very innovative, which is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I basically built all these apps, and then that led me to quit. I quit Mint. I was like, my dream has always been to make $3,000 a month and run my own show. And now it's happening. So I messaged Darren and I was like, hey,
I had the exact same number, by the way. That's funny that was the number in your head. 3,000 a month. Yeah.
Because you really don't.
You don't need more than that. Like, yeah.
Rent is 1,000 or 1,500. Yeah. Even anywhere, even in LA, even in SF, even in Austin, you can find a place. Like, I lived in Austin in some weird ass guy's house in a room. Yeah. It was $600 a month.
Yep. So, no, you can make it for 3,000 a month. You can do fine. That's what I paid myself for a long time when I started Hawke.
Dude, I think that's what people miss out on. Is it's like if you can reduce your cost of living, your cost of living low. If you can do that, then it gives you freedom to do whatever you want, and then that's actually how you can make also a lot of fucking money.
Yep. No, and it also takes all the stressors off. Then you're not worried about your personal life. Like when your personal expenses, especially if you're building businesses, it's got to be a rounding error. It's got to be something you don't think about. If you start getting over your skis because you're investing in expensive shit, that you need to invest in expensive shit when the passive income from the money you've made off your business is enough to cover it. Like it should be such a rounding error, even when you are buying expensive. That's always been my view of it too.
Yeah. So I basically, I think what was also one of the things that was interesting for me is like, I picked really interesting categories. So like social networking, fintech, and then Facebook and social networking and kind of like the app world. It just put me in a place where I met a lot of really, now they're all, top shelf people. So like I became friends with Mark Pincus and the Playdom guys and Kabam and all these people from that. So Naval funded the company. I basically left Mint. And then I just started building all these fucking Facebook games.
Nice. And what was that called?
So it's called Kickflip. So we built like.
Were you a big skateboarder? How'd that happen?
No, I just love the name. I just
love
Kickflip. I've always wanted to do one. I think that's probably why I aspire.
It's a good aspiration. I never got there. Now I don't want to fall in concrete.
No, man. Anyways, we built up these games. Long story short, I have a pattern, and the pattern eventually end. But basically, after about a year of making these games, I was like, I don't play any Facebook games. I hate Facebook. I hate all these people that play our games. I moved to Argentina, which was part of my dream, was to start a company and live abroad.
Uh-huh.
And I just basically like kind of stopped working and drank wine, did tango, hung with Tim Ferriss, and just kind of
That's
chilled
amazing. That's
in
awesome.
Argentina for. It was
Nice.
great. It was great. The problem though is that my business partners were like, "Yo, we're gonna quit." Naval was like, "Fuck you. You got to get back to work." And I was like, "Dude, I don't want to work on these fucking games."
Yeah.
Man, how much time do we have? I'll try to do the
We got like
abbreviated
12,
version.
11 minutes. Yeah.
Abbreviated version, came back. I basically was scared, so I just went back to work. We built some game called Bet Arcade. It was sports gambling because we had all these sports people from the apps.
Right.
Ended up spending 6 months building it, hundreds of thousands of dollars building it. No one wanted it. But what came of it was we built payments for the game.
Yep.
So we had this game, this betting site, but then we had a payments engine, and we're like, huh, our games thing sucks, but this payments engine that we built might actually be the cool product.
Yeah.
So I went out and sold it. I started selling it to the other game developers. So
yeah.
Name a game developer, we probably worked them: Tagged, High Five, Zynga. And basically it exploded. So in the first year, that business processed about $18 million.
Awesome.
It was fucking wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wild. And then that company did well. And
on such an important note, just I know we're getting closer, but like you hit a failure, quote unquote. And I hate the word failure because I'm like, failure is you only fail if that's where the story stops. But what you did was like, okay, game sucks. Let's find a way to make this work. And then all of a sudden it's a success because you just kept it going. You didn't end there.
What's also, I think, noticing the patterns. I think one of the things I encourage people is like, what are the things you're doing for free? What's your pattern? Like, what's the pattern that keeps happening? And for me, it's like, I like this marketing thing. I like platforms.
Yep.
I like the idea of selling the pickaxes and the shovels.
Yep.
And so the games thing did well. One day I woke up and Facebook banned us, and our largest competitor sued us. And we don't have time for it, but that's another story. Anyways, I was really happy that day because I was tired of, again, I was tired of the people, my partners. We weren't getting along because everyone thought they were the most important.
Yeah.
And everyone was.
Yep.
And then I did not like the value proposition was I was a commodity. It was like, hey, you want a payments provider? Like, well, fuck you. We'll use your competitor if you don't give us something else.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't want to be in that space. And so I took some time off. I had some consulting gigs, and I was like, what's happening in all this stuff that I'm missing? And so I was like, well, I like marketing. I did that at Mint. I like software and tech. I did it at Facebook. This payment stuff sucks, right? Because you're basically in the lowest point of the value chain.
Yeah.
But I was like, what's the most important point? Like, if for Hawke Media and literally every one of your listeners or people out there, what's the most important thing in business?
Customers,
period.
Yep.
It's people. You might say it's people, but if you have customers, you don't have people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was like, all right, let me put those three things together. It's like marketing, software, customers. And that's where AppSumo.com came.
Got it. And how old are you at that point?
I started AppSumo when I was 29.
Okay.
And I started in a basement in SF. And I just did it really slowly. It cost me $50 to build it.
Yep.
I just validated it in a weekend with Imgur. So the idea originally was kind of Groupon for deals, Groupon for software. Right. The software, the margin's perfect. It's 100%.
Yep.
So I went out to Imgur, and then I asked the founders of Reddit if they would give me some free ads, and they did.
Nice.
And then I just put up a deal for Imgur Pro, and it sold a few hundred copies. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Let me kind of, it was just kind of, it was something I was just interested in. Yeah. I like deals. I liked all that stuff. And I think if you look at Facebook, if you look at Dell, if you look at all like even Microsoft, you look at Google, almost all the most successful billion-dollar companies didn't start out as billion-dollar ideas. They weren't like, I'm going to create a billion-dollar business. They're like, researching backlinks is weird. We'd probably sell this. They would sell to Yahoo for $1 million. Yeah. Right. Like Facebook didn't start out as him building a thing. He was wanting to meet chicks. Yeah. And he also built Wirehog, which was the music sharing thing. Yeah. And then over time, it's like, oh shit, there's something here. And that's kind of what's happened with AppSumo. I was like, I like deals in software. And Andrew Chen, who's like a famous VC now, one of my best friends, he gave me 100,000 and he was like, you should take it more seriously. So started taking it more seriously, started doing more deals, started scaling out the team. And it's been a journey with a lot of ups and downs over the years, but 11 years later, we've transformed it more into a marketplace for software and tools and knowledge to help people start and grow online businesses. Yep. It's fucking wild. I can't believe we're still doing it for this long. How many people we've helped, how many partners we've promoted.
So do you know how many apps have presented on the site? Like how many different
How many
technologies?
software deals? So
Yeah.
right now on the App Sumo Marketplace, there's around 2,000 products. So
Okay.
we're still known, I think, for software deals.
Yeah.
And we also promote books and courses, because if you have a tool but you don't know how to use it,
Yep.
it doesn't really help you.
Yep.
I think in the history, we've done over 4,000 products. I think total
Nice.
sales is somewhere in the few hundred millions.
It's amazing.
There's like yeah, dude, wow.
It's crazy to say, right? Because when you think back to what the $50 you put in when you're getting started, like ever think it would get here? And I think you nailed it. Like Mark thought he was making a site to meet chicks, and now it's one of the biggest companies in the world. Like it's like you don't
Yeah.
you don't really have that plan. The really successful companies don't necessarily start with a vision of world domination here.
No, well, Mark did talk about, after it was going, Mark talked
No,
about
that's what I'm
world
saying.
domination
After
a
it's
lot.
going, maybe, but
Yeah, not in the beginning. In the beginning, I think it's just find something you want for yourself
yep.
and be okay. I think that's a key thing. The other thing I will say, there's a huge difference doing something that people really want versus something people don't want or kind of want.
Yep.
And it's if you're gonna spend a year or 5 years or 10 years doing something, find something people are like fucking desperate over.
Yep.
And I think people waste so many cycles and so much like precious life.
Yep.
Shit, nothing no one wants.
I agree. All right. So last two questions for you. Number one, what's next? It sounds like you have a couple investors in this. Do you think you're going to take AppSumo public or sell it, or do you just want to keep running it?
We had a leadership summit and the team gave me feedback. They said, Noah, you're always disappointed dad. And then maybe because I'm wearing short shorts these days, so I'm disappointed dad bod. But I'm not as concerned about what's next.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I really,
It's in the moment.
I'm here with you, but
Yep.
I like what we're doing. Like, I like helping people create jobs.
Yep.
I like helping people make their cool products. I like promoting cool products. Specifically lately, my fascination is in organization.
Mhm.
I am like, I wouldn't say desperate, but I am so interested in like, how do you run a company? How do
Mhm.
you get people motivated? How do you organize them? How do you
Yep.
get strategy? And like I'm excellent in like 1 to 5 people, 0 to
Yep.
1 million, but like there's just a lot of new things that I'm growing and learning in this area. I think in AppSumo, it's, how do you scale an organization effectively?
Yep.
Like, how do you hire advisors? How do you move people around? How do you coach?
Yep.
So
No,
that's a lot of where my next and mental process in terms of selling or public or any of that stuff. I think that, one of the questions we ask in the company often is like, what's the outcome? Like, what are we optimizing for? What's the outcome we're looking for? I think there's a future where it's, how do I get liquidity for the people that work there?
Yep.
How do everyone who works there, as well as our partners and customers, how do we get everyone rich?
Yep.
Whatever rich they want. And so that's something that we'll be working on in the future.
Yep. Awesome. And so last question, what's your one piece of advice for someone trying to go for their dreams? You've had quite a wild story. So what do you think is the one thing you either wish you were told or you were told that helped you get through all this? As you said, you don't even know why you continued after Facebook, but a lot of people need, to hear something. What do you think that would be?
Yeah. I think the two things that did help me, and I still use this day, and I used it 20 years ago, is two key pieces. Maybe not as much 20. Well, yeah, I did use it. One is, I think you have to write out a fantasy story. You have to go write out your fantasy, like the craziest novel of what your life can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it 20 years ago when I got fired at Facebook. I was like, where could I be in 10 years? And what would happen in 10 years? And, in a company, that's called a vision.
Yep.
But for some reason, we like to do that shit in business, but maybe not in our personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage everyone to do that. And then the second thing that I talked, I do YouTube and youtube.com/HawkeTalk. And one of the things I tell my audience a lot, and I try to tell myself a lot, is permission granted. And it's kind of this question here. It's like, why not you?
Yep. I say the same thing all the time. People aren't that smart. It's just, it's a lot of what goes into success is luck, just to be honest. Like there's a lot of timing. There's a lot
with it.
Yeah.
You got to stick fucking with it.
Yeah.
I mean, sticking with it, honestly, is like, you see these, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, making YouTube videos and studying. And like, really the only difference between people who make it and don't are the ones who stick with it.
Yep.
And a lot of these people, I don't know, they want it, but they're not willing to do to get what they want. And maybe they just don't want it badly enough. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think again, it comes with, do they think it's possible for them is a part of it too.
Well, like, I don't know. I was trying to hire another CEO for App Sumo, and I spent 3 months interviewing all these people. And I think one thing that surprised me about that whole thing, and kind of takeaway for me and other people out there, is like, I think we assume that everybody's better than us. maybe not everyone thinks this. This is what I
Yeah.
thought. I was like, man, there's these CEOs out there. They know
Yeah.
how to run a company. They know how to run Hawke Media better than me. And then
Yeah.
you meet these people and you're like, maybe I'm a lot better than they think. And that's why I
Yeah.
try to tell people, like, you're fucking excellent. Don't worry about like Zuck and all these bozos.
Yeah. Well, this has been awesome, Noah. Thank you so much for coming on HawkeTalk.
HawkeTalk.